NASL Championship Soccer is being sponsored by the people who bring you the light, refreshing taste of Coca-Cola. Coke adds life to the games you're...
Hello, everyone. John Miller in Fort Lauderdale, Florida today as TVS brings you exciting NASL playoff soccer. Today we've got a game between two of the most exciting ball clubs in the land, the Fort Lauderdale Strikers and the Detroit Express. It's hot and it's humid today in Fort Lauderdale. We'll be back to meet our analyst for the ball game today, Paul Gardner, when we continue after this. Now, today's ball clubs, here is Paul Gardner, the editor of Soccer Express. Paul?
Thank you, John. Let's take a look at Detroit first. First of all, Trevor Francis. Now, he came here into the season. He wasn't with the club at the beginning of the season, but he sparked them to a winning streak that has brought them this far. He's a very dangerous player indeed. He's from England, a goal scorer, always a threat. On defense, let's take a look at Paul Hunter. Now, funnily enough, a year ago, we televised his first game, his first starting game. He was with the New York Cosmos then. Now with Detroit, a regular starter throughout the season. And the coach of the Detroit Express, also an ex-New York Cosmos. He didn't have too happy a time there, but he's done marvelously well with Detroit and brought them this far into the playoffs. Turning to Fort Lauderdale, George Best. Of course, this is one of the great stars of world soccer, a temperamental man. He's not always at his happiest, but he seems to have found a new home here in Fort Lauderdale. He's playing marvelously well for them. In defense for Fort Lauderdale, Tony Whelan. Now, this is a good young player, a strong tackler, a fast player, tenacious player. He used to be an attacker, so he's always a threat on attack too. And the coach, Ron Newman, he's been around in this league longer than anybody else. In fact, he won a championship in 1971 with Dallas. Right, John, back to you.
Thank you, Paul, and we'll be back with the kickoff of today's playoff action when we continue. The officials for the ball game today here in sunshiny, warm, humid Fort Lauderdale. The referee, the man in the middle, will be Gino DiPolito. And the linesman on the left side is Sam Homich, and on the right side is Fred Usher. The goalkeepers on the left side, Ian Turner of the Fort Lauderdale Strikers, acquired at mid-season. And for Detroit, Steve Hardwick. He started every ball game for the Detroit Express this year and led the American Conference in goals against average. The Detroit Express on the attack in the white. Here's Francis with a through pass to Furphy. He takes a shot wide of the net, and a goal kick coming up for Fort Lauderdale. As the Detroit Express right away coming out on the attack, the Express is in the white and the Strikers are in the striped uniforms. And Paul Gardner, let's take a look at the lineups right now. Hardwick in goal, Paul Hunter, Graham Oates, Steve Sargent, and Ian Davis, the back line. At midfield, Angus Moffett, Dave Bradford, and Mickey Leach. And up front, a very potent attacking line, Brazil, Francis, and Furphy. And for Fort Lauderdale, in goal is Turner, Whelan, Ridley, Whittle, and also Colin Fowles in the back line. Bronson, Callaghan, and Hudson at midfield. George Nanshaw, David Irving, and Georgie Best up front. And that, too, is a very potent front line. Fort Lauderdale moving the ball up the field. And the ball taken away by number 5, Graham Oates. They'll start it out. Number 12, this is Angus Moffett. Crossfield to number 10, David Bradford. Now here's Trevor Francis. Since they acquired Trevor Francis after 11 games gone by, the Strikers have won, correct that, Detroit has won 16 and lost only 4 games. They had won 5 games and lost 6 prior to acquiring number 20, Trevor Francis. Now Tony Whelan moving ahead. Passes to number 10, David Irving. 16 goals, 5 assists. A man to watch out for, but Fort Lauderdale has lost the ball. Long counter-attacking ball for Francis. Can't get it. Here's Colin Fowles. To number 7, Bill Ronson, midfielder. Got Bradford on his back. Back to Fowles. Down the middle, here's Ian Callaghan. Moves to the right side. Keith Furphy, number 8, is with him. Leaves it inside for Ronson and taken away by Ian Davis. Here's the quick counter-attacking ball to Trevor Francis. Got around one man, but couldn't get around Colin Fowles. Paul, early, I guess we see the trend that we'll see throughout the ball game. They'll look for Trevor at every opportunity with that quick counter-attacking ball.
Yeah, well, he was the first player to attack. He got the first pass through there, and he's sort of isolated on his own up there. He likes to play up front. He doesn't like to drop back too deep, but I think one of the biggest factors of this game is going to be this heat, John. I mean, it's tremendously hot on the field down there, and I just feel that players have got to conserve energy because this is a game that could go into overtime.
It's a hot time of the year anyway here in Florida, and right now is the hottest time of the day.
In fact, we've got a shot of the players on the bench over there sitting under umbrellas. Sunshades all around the stadium here this afternoon.
Temperatures in the 90, very high humidity. You get a look at the Detroit players under their umbrella. across the way.
Now, some hardy souls not sitting on under umbrellas. I think they'll be sorry for that.
Working on the tan.
I wish we had umbrellas. We're inside. We could do with umbrellas here, too, I think.
All right, the Fort Lauderdale Strikers with the ball. Detroit won both meetings between these two clubs in the regular season. Once here in Fort Lauderdale. One of only 3 games that Fort Lauderdale lost at home. Here's Bill Ronson. A save by Hardwick coming out of the net. A first good chance on goal and a good save by Hardwick.
Sudden break by Ronson there. He's got a step on 2 players. There's the right-footed shot. Not really much chance from that angle, although Hardwick sort of turned that into a difficult play.
Here's Trevor Francis with a pass from Brazil. He's got the opening. He shoots. He scores! Trevor Francis with a pass from Brazil. He got a lone one-on-one with the goalkeeper, and he pumped it home.
The marvelous example of how cool. Look, he's going to shoot. No, he's not. No, he's not. And then he delays his shot until the goalkeeper's committed himself, puts it wide of his left hand. Perfect coolness from Francis.
Detroit has the lead from Fort Lauderdale. This is NASL Championship Soccer. Detroit, and they drop it back to Hardwick. There's a look at Ron Newman on the sideline. He has coached a team that won an NASL championship back in 1972, the Dallas Tornado. Ball belongs to the Detroit Express. Detroit, as we told you, 16-4 since they acquired Trevor Francis. There's Ken Furphy, the coach, with his legs crossed in the middle of the Detroit Express. And in those 20 ball games that Francis has played, Paul, Detroit has scored 58 goals, an incredible figure, about 3 goals a game.
58. How many of those are Trevor's?
Well, he got 23.
Over a third of them. Yeah. Well, we saw in that first play just how dangerous he is, because Brazil put him through. He wasn't really free on that play, and yet by a superb bit of quick skill, he made an opening for himself when it looked as though there was a defender nowhere near it.
Here's Ronson, dumps it onto the open wing, but nobody there for Fort Lauderdale. And number 6, Steve Sargent, clears it back. Now, here's the counterattack. Brazil, number 9, goes around one attempted tackle. Drops it back to Keith Furphy, the coach's son and a fine goal scorer. Now, the ball out of bounds and give it to Fort Lauderdale. Colin Fowles to throw it in. Drops it back to Tony Whelan. Now Hudson starts it ahead. This is David Irving. I told you, 16 goals for him. Now here comes Hudson moving in. He's picked up by number 7, Mick Leach. Hudson drops it into the area. This is Irving. Tackle knocks it away. It was a legal tackle.
Appealed for a penalty naturally from the players and from the crowd, but I think the defender got to the ball, and the player came down after he'd got to the ball, so the referee waves play on.
Fort Lauderdale has it again at midfield. Number 11, Ian Callaghan, 36 years of age. Now Georgie Best, quick pass for Ronson. Hardwick comes out, and he takes the ball away from him.
Lovely example of Best's skills there. One look, he just raised his head for a fraction of a second. He saw the possibility, and the pass was within inches of being a perfect pass.
Now here's Trevor Francis, one of the great players in the world today. Look at him going around one man and almost around another. I thought perhaps they might give obstruction there.
Well, I thought they would give a foul, but the referee again is waving play on. So I think that's a return for the penalty they didn't get down the other end here.
Looked like Whittle to me. Got in front of him, obstructing there, but the referee said play on. Booted out to midfield, and again, Detroit will have control of it. It'll be a Detroit throw-in. Number 5, Graham Oates over the ball. Goes back to Hardwick. The Detroit Express, they won their qualifying round game in the playoffs in Detroit, in Pontiac Silverdome, actually, last Tuesday night. They had a good crowd there, better than 22,000. Trevor Francis scored the game's only goal. Fort Lauderdale, the only real surprise in the first round of the playoffs, they beat New England up in Massachusetts, 3-1. The only road team to win in the first round of the playoffs. Here's Callaghan. Now Georgie Best, acquired from Los Angeles back in late June. Ball goes out of bounds, and let's see. They call a foul, or they just give a throw-in? They give a throw-in. There's Newman up. Here's a look at it.
See whether that is a foul, and I don't think it was. I think it was a pretty fair sort of charge. Goes in. No, he does. He gets a piece of the ball, and the player trips over his outstretched legs afterwards. It's definitely not a foul.
Detroit has the ball right now. Number 12, Angus Moffett, drops it off in the middle to Mick Leach. Leach, a midfielder. Good defensive-minded midfielder. Now here's Francis. Cross into the box. Brazil with a header just over the bar. Goal kick for Fort Lauderdale. And from Fort Lauderdale, this is NASL Championship Soccer. There you get a look at the Striker Psychers here in Fort Lauderdale. A love affair has started in this city between the soccer fans and the Fort Lauderdale Strikers. Right now, Fort Lauderdale with a corner kick as we return to action. Ray Hudson over the ball with Georgie Best. They've got Tony Whelan up front with Dave Irving in the goal-mouth area. Best to the far post. Whelan goes after the ball, and Mick Leach cleared it away to Furphy, who gets it out toward midfield to Francis. And here comes that Detroit counterattack. Angus Moffat, number 12. Trailing him on the play is Bradford. You see the time remaining. It is 1-0 Detroit, first half. Now Leach in across the 35-yard line. Moving in on the attack. Now Bradford, number 12 on the right. Whittle over to pick him up. Here's the cross. And Colin Fowle saw it coming, clears it away. But Detroit has it again. Paul Hunter. You mentioned Paul at the outset. We saw him against Rochester. Onside is Brazil. Wait a minute. He was offside. Called that one before the linesman did.
Yeah, I think he's got to be in line, of course, to see whether he's offside or not. That must have been a very close thing, a matter of inches. I wanted to comment, though, just before we went out for that last commercial, a cross came over, and there were two Detroit players, Brazil and Furphy, virtually unmarked in the middle of the area there. One of them got his head on the ball and headed over the bar, but if Fort Lauderdale go on doing that throughout the afternoon, then this is going to be a 5-0 game to Detroit. I can't believe they won't correct that situation.
Well, Trevor Francis, Ron Newman, the coach of the Strikers, termed him one of the 10 best players in the world today. And Trevor had some very kind things to say about Georgie Best. He said he thought the toughest opponent, the toughest player he'd ever played against was Georgie Best.
Well, I don't doubt Trevor Francis is one of the best strikers in the world because he's a current international. He is currently a member of the full England international team.
The vastly improved team, too. Barely, narrowly missing out on the final 16 of the World Cup.
Yeah, I saw them play against Brazil in Wembley earlier this year, and frankly, although I have not been an admirer of English soccer over the past few years, they played better than I've seen them play in years. And Trevor Francis was a member of that team.
And as we explained earlier, Trevor really making a tremendous amount of difference in this Detroit ball club, and at least in Detroit, they feel he's the best player in the NASL right now. You get a few arguments from some folks in New York, New Jersey. Got a few good ones there. Kinalia,
and Fort Lauderdale, too, I suspect.
Well, Georgie Best down here. David Irving's had a fine year.
Yeah, Ray Hudson's had a good year.
High lob for Francis over his head. Fowles heads it to the midfield circle. But Detroit gets the ball, and a foul is called on Detroit. Mick Leach, I believe, was on somebody's back with a forearm. Free kick for the Strikers.
Fowles has a sort of tremendous bandage all the way up his right thigh there. Did you get any word on an injury? I know he was declared fit at the last minute. I suppose that's...
Well, Colin has played every ball game of the season for the Strikers. But there was nothing said in terms of any sort of decapitating or debilitating injury that might keep him out. He was listed as definite all through. Headed out in front, cleared out of the box by Detroit defense. Number 3, Ian Davis, back there to do it.
Very poor example from Fort Lauderdale there. That ball was headed back across the middle, and nobody went for it at all. They were just standing around in the box there. In the box, by the box, I mean the penalty area, of course.
George Best is fouled from behind by Mick Leach, and a free kick for Fort Lauderdale. Now Gino DiPolito steps in between a couple of players. Number 7, Bill Ronson of Fort Lauderdale, and number 8, Keith Furphy, and DiPolito is going to have a chat with both of them.
Ronson claiming that Furphy went over the ball, which is an expression we use in soccer where the player sort of steps over the ball and hits the player's legs with the bottom of his shoe. It's a dangerous sort of foul.
Look out in the box. Now Fort Lauderdale loses it. That was George Nanchoff, number 19, going after the ball. Couldn't get to it. Now Fort Lauderdale trying to swing play a little bit here. Bradford loses it out of bounds, goes back to Fort Lauderdale, and Colin Fowles will throw it in. Fowles, who started his NASL career, the Tampa Bay Rowdies. Now, number 5, Ridley, clears it back to nobody in particular.
It's a very wild-looking kick, that. It was supposed to go square across the field.
There's Colin Fowles, one of the Ironmen of this ball club. Here's David Irving. Leads it ahead. Oh, Ray Hudson tried to feint the ball around Mick Leach, but lost the ball because there was no room over there on the sideline. Throw in for Detroit. Detroit beat this ball club just 2 weeks ago today at the Silverdome in Pontiac, 4-2, a wild game. Trevor Francis scored 2 goals for Detroit. George Best had one, along with Irving, for Fort Lauderdale. And Brazil, on a beautiful pass from Francis, broke the tie late in the game, and Detroit went ahead and won the ball game 4-2.
In fact, Fort Lauderdale has not had a happy time against Detroit this season because they lost to them here at the beginning of the season.
In overtime, and a goal by that man, number 8, Keith Furphy, as he takes it away from Ronson.
I was talking to Coach Ron Newman about that game earlier, and he said he was very unhappy about it because, in fact, in that game, Fort Lauderdale missed a penalty. Morris Whittle, their captain, missed a penalty, the first one he's missed in 8 years.
Oh, boy. Here's Alan Brazil, number 9. 18 years old. He scored 9 goals with 7 assists this year. Looking for Francis inside, but number 5, Ridley, drops it back to the goalkeeper, Ian Turner.
And even though Francis was the only Detroit player in the area there were 3 Fort Lauderdale defenders with him. As soon as he started to move for that ball, you have the impression that something's likely to happen. He's that sort of player. He gives you the impression.
Furphy and Ronson fight for the ball there. And it's finally dug loose by Detroit, and here comes Furphy. He had 11 goals this year and 12 assists. Fine young player. Now Angus Moffett drops it back to Mick Leach. Here's a long ball into the box, and was right to the goal line, taken by Ian Turner over the head by a long shot of Alan Brazil.
Was that coming out of the sun? Or was the sun seems to be the other way around?
Never did come close on that one. We're in Fort Lauderdale. 1-0 score from Fort Lauderdale. This is NASL Championship Soccer. The Detroit Express with the ball. 27 minutes coming up in the scoreboard clock. Detroit scored the game's first goal 3 minutes and 27 seconds into the match. There you get a look at the early statistical rundown. Detroit with a slight advantage in the shot totals. Fort Lauderdale trying to come back. Here's Callaghan. Now Georgie Best. Back in the midfield area right now. Drops it off on the left wing. Morris Whittle moving up. The cross, far post, but Hardwick comes out to take it away from Irving.
Lovely cross from Whittle there. He's very dangerous. He's got a very powerful left foot, Morris Whittle. He just seems to swing his foot without any effort at all. There it comes, carrying well taken by Hardwick.
Here comes Detroit on the attack. Brazil. And then the ball knocked away by Tony Whelan. And here comes Fort Lauderdale with a counterattack. Out in the middle, number 5, John Ridley. Ridley, who shut out Flanagan of New England 3 times this year. Now, look out, little bad blood there. Ridley got upset at number 2, Paul Hunter.
Ridley butted Paul Hunter in the face there.
There's a yellow card for Hunter.
Quite unnecessary. You'll see a lot of hacking. Ridley goes down, and then Hunter. Now, who is that? That's not Hunter. That's Keith Furphy trying to push off Ronson and Ridley. Paul Hunter comes in, kicks the ball underneath Ridley. Now, you see Ridley get up. He's not at all happy about that.
Well, I'm not sure who all got the yellow cards.
Well,
I believe Ridley and Hunter did, but maybe Furphy's going to get one, too.
It certainly has to be Ridley.
Free kick for Fort Lauderdale. DiPolito was still making some notes there. Now, that is a caution. The next time you commit a foul of that sort of grievous offense, unnecessarily, it's a red card, and you're out of the ball game. Fort Lauderdale with the ball. 26 minutes left in the half. Strikers in the striped shirts trailing 1-0. Mick Leach knocks the ball away and gives away, well, let's see. No, they said last touch by number 4, Ray Hudson.
And again, I think you'll get complaints from Fort Lauderdale that was a foul there. But not too many complaints up to now, evidently.
Steve Hardwick started every ball game for Detroit this year. 1.19 goals against average with 9 shutouts.
A good goalkeeper. Powerful kick, as you can see from that. He's also not that tall. He's 5'11", which some people think is small for a goalkeeper.
And he's only 21 years of age. Fort Lauderdale, Nanshaw works give and go there with number 4, Hudson. And another foul is called on Leach. He's had quite a string of fouls
go across there. That's not a good pass. The guy's got to run wide for it. Now, you'll see there very clearly he got the player before he got the ball. That is a foul, unlike the one we had earlier, where the ball was taken first and the player tripped over the leg of the tackler.
Free kick for the Fort Lauderdale Strikers. Into the box they go. Cleared out, but kept in by Whelan of the Strikers. Chip ahead. Here's Irving, but he was offside.
Yeah.
Takes the shot anyway, but he was offside.
He just moved a little bit too quickly. There was only perhaps one step in it there. And you'll see a lot of pressure here coming in from Fort Lauderdale trying to get that goal.
Fort Lauderdale trailing 1-0, as we said. The Strikers, the surprise team, they had a bad start. Remember, Paul, we saw them in Washington Very early in the season, they had a lot of injuries and got clobbered that day by the Diplomats, 4-1.
Yeah, they had a very bad start indeed. But of course, they've got George Best now, and they haven't got Gordon Banks, who was in goal that day. He got injured. They had to look for a replacement, and of course they brought in Turner, and Gordon Banks hasn't been able to get his place back.
In fact, Turner, the goalkeeper, and Best made their debuts for the Strikers in the same night here against the Cosmos. They won that ball game 5-3. Fort Lauderdale with the ball. And in fact, George Best has played 10 games for the Strikers, and Fort Lauderdale has won 8 of those 10. This is Ronson. Quick pass ahead for Colin Fowles. Furphy and he chase after the ball, and a foul has been called on Keith Furphy. Or is it a foul? No, the referee's just going to give him a throw-in. Said no foul. They give the ball to Fort Lauderdale. A few fans up there with their hats and the umbrellas. Very hot and humid here in Florida. Cleared out by Mickey Leach. Francis goes after the ball, but Ridley heads it down, but it's back to Francis. Quick pass in the right wing. Here's Brazil. Francis coming into the left. Bradford trailing the play. Brazil with a shot right on, and a save by Ian Turner.
Beautiful pass from Francis there. Crossfield pass, almost as though he's not looking. But he knew exactly what he was doing. The pass came way across field, isolating a one-on-one here. He gets past Whittle, and his shot comes in. It's a good save there by Turner.
Here comes Ian Callaghan for Fort Lauderdale. Back the other way now. Tony Whelan with the ball. Gives it off to Georgie Best. Quick lob into the corner. Number 11, Ian Callaghan. Looking for the cross. He's wide open for the cross. Well, which man does he want to put it to? Takes a shot to the far post. And somebody was offside there anyway. So we've got a free kick coming up for Detroit. This is NASL champion. With Paul Gardner today, a quarterfinal round game. 1 week from today, we'll have a semifinal round game for you on TVS. And then 2 weeks from today, Soccer Bowl 78 from the Meadowlands in New Jersey. Here comes Fort Lauderdale. Backheel for Hudson. He moves in, and a sliding tackle by Graham Oates, number 5, to perhaps save a goal. Throw in Fort Lauderdale.
I think it did. It was an absolutely superb return pass there from David Irving. David Irving running out to the left and passing the ball behind him. Taking defenders with him. They're all looking the other way.
Bronson throws it in near the 35-yard line to Colin Fowles. The Strikers trying to put some pressure on. Into the penalty area. This is Nanshoff. He's onside. Looking for an opening. The cross is knocked down by Mick Leach. And a corner kick coming up.
Again, some unusual-looking skills from Nanshoff there, sort of standing, hovering over the ball, everybody wondering what he's going to do. And finally, he got in a very good center, which Leach had to clear for a corner. And George Best is taking that now.
Best sends it low, knocked down easily by Brazil, and Detroit takes the pressure off for the moment. Long pass for Trevor Francis, anticipated, intercepted by the Fort Lauderdale Strikers. John Ridley gets the ball to Callaghan. Now Ronson alone in the corner. Looks for the cross, and he miskicks the ball. Finally gives up a goal kick to Detroit. Don't forget, fans, the Coca-Cola Kick Me Finals in conjunction of Soccer Bowl 78. In fact, will be held at the Meadowlands on August 27th. Little altercation there with Ronson and Hardwick. And we'll introduce the finalists for you at halftime of Soccer Bowl 78. From Fort Lauderdale, this is NASL Championship Soccer. Fort Lauderdale, warm and humid here today. And, Paul, the heat is a factor certainly expressed by both coaches of the ball clubs today, many of the players, and it's been a pretty good pace set up till now. I don't imagine they're going to be able to keep this up.
It's been expressed by the players, the coaches, and the commentators, too, I think, John. More fouls here. Detroit getting a little bit overly physical here. A lot of complaints from the Fort Lauderdale players. Just before we went off the air for that commercial, we saw an altercation there between Ronson and Paul Hunter again, which might well have led to a warning. A very pensive, well, we keep calling him Rod Newman. His name is actually Ron Newman.
R-O-N. Well, a pass, nobody there for Fort Lauderdale, and Angus Moffat guards it as it goes out of bounds, and it will be a Detroit throw-in. The Detroit Express, certainly a ball club that has to be one of the favorites to win this American Conference. The Cosmos in Vancouver would be the favorites, I guess, in the National Conference, but last night Vancouver was upset by Portland. We'll have all those results for you at halftime. Here comes Fort Lauderdale. Ronson, number 7. Furphy is with it. Ronson with a cross, far post. Chasing after the ball is Nanshoff, number 19. He's picked up by Hunter, number 2. Now Hudson in the corner. to Nanshaw. Nanshaw drops it in for Irving, but offside is called.
Nanshaw, unfortunately, made a nice pass, but he just stood still watching it, so that when the ball came back to him, he was Ray Hudson down there, rubbing his knee, injured. When the ball came back to him, he was a good yard offside. You know, a fatal error, cardinal sin in soccer. Don't stand around watching the ball after you've passed it. One thing that's very noticeable is whenever we get a stoppage like this, sponges, towels, lemons, oranges, apples, God knows what else are being thrown on the field for these players here. They need this sort of refreshment continually in this heat.
When these ball clubs played here in Fort Lauderdale earlier this year, it was also in an afternoon. In fact, that was the last afternoon ball game played here at Lockhart Stadium, and it was rather warm that day as well. George Best saying that probably the only place he's played this year is hot as it is here today was in Memphis earlier this season. He said that was the hottest and muggiest afternoon he's ever had to play a soccer game in.
I'll tell you one thing about this heat, John, which absolutely amazed me, is it's more than hot enough for me, and yet when we arrived here out in the parking lot, there must have been thousands of people out there in the parking lot tailgating in all this heat here. They really take their soccer seriously. They get a lot of fun out of it here, too.
It's a family affair, too, I think. The kids and mom and dad, everybody out here, and they love the strikers. George Best to the ball. Back heels it to Ronson.
Well, another little entanglement there between George Best and Furphy. The referees let that go.
Played the advantage rule, I guess, there, as Fort Lauderdale did maintain control. Now Whelan.
Ronson is pointing at Furphy. Furphy is expressing that he didn't do anything, but I sense a little trouble brewing there.
Here's Whelan now moving in, looking for a shot. He's still into the penalty area. The cross is knocked down by Angus Moffat and a corner kick for Fort Lauderdale.
What a brave effort that was by Whelan. Again, a defensive player who used to be an attacker, as I said at the beginning of the program, and he just gave it everything, running that ball forward into the area there. He really never let up for a moment. He was sort of slightly tripped as he entered the area, but he kept his feet, got the ball across, and it was blocked for this corner kick that's coming up here.
Here's George Best with Hudson, both over the ball. We see in the penalty area Irving on the far post, Whelan on the near post. They go for Irving. Heads it down in front to Whelan. Shot is just wide of the net, but it was deflected by a Detroit player. Another corner kick for Fort Lauderdale.
That was sort of incredible. That was a lovely corner. Beautifully headed back here. Who is that, John? Is that Callahan? That was Irving, and, well, seen from behind the goal, it doesn't look quite as close.
Finally, Detroit takes it away on the corner kick. So Fort Lauderdale gets no satisfaction. 15.5 minutes left in the first half. Quick pass. Here's Alan Brazil. Brazil now at the 35-yard line, double teamed, and it's knocked away from him by Ian Callaghan. Ian Davis comes up from the back line.
Well, there's another little bit of problem coming here. Davis quite certain that Ronson tripped him deliberately, runs up and pushes him, and I think Davis has got a yellow card. Somebody's got a yellow card. It's not clear who. You see that ball is a loose ball. Davis coming at full speed, and there is Ronson's foot up, and he's tripped. Davis going back towards him. There's a yellow card being given there. I'm not sure who's got it.
Ian Davis is down. We have a break from Fort Lauderdale. This is NASL Championship Soccer. Get that yellow for Fort Lauderdale. We're back to action. Nanshaw in the penalty area. Off to Georgie Best. He's open in the corner. Looking for room. He has it. Sends a wild cross. And it will go out of bounds and belong to Detroit. And Best a little upset with himself there.
Oh, I'm watching him now. I'm not quite clear what he was trying to do there. Do you know, John? It couldn't have been a shot, but neither did it look like a cross either.
Well, I'd say if somebody'd been over there in that left
football,
wing,
he's kicking to touch it.
trying to kick a field goal. Maybe he was
sideways.
Fourth down. All right, now Detroit trying to move ahead.
An obvious handball there, but advantage rule again.
Number 10, Bradford tries to lead it for Furphy, knocked down by Ronson. Ronson, tough little customer, he stands 5'4". Guy he's been dueling with quite a bit today, Keith Furphy, is 6'2". There's a foul on Paul Hunter.
Well, Paul Hunter may be lucky if he doesn't get a warning for that, because he's involved in several incidents here. The referee's going up and talking in behind, and a very clumsy tackle. Not sort of intentionally brutal, but just utterly clumsy, where he knocked everything in sight down.
Nanshaw a little slow in getting up, and the Fort Lauderdale trainer over to have a look.
And sponges again with lots of water pouring out of them.
Free kick for Fort Lauderdale. George Best will take it. He's got Hudson down in the penalty area with Nanshaw now. David Irving is standing off on the far post. Here's the curving ball for David Irving. Can't get to it. Cleared away from him by number 5, Graham Oates. Sent back in. Again cleared out by Oates. Up on somebody's shoulders that time. And Hudson went right over the top of Steve Sargent, perhaps out of camera range there. Action getting very rough and rugged here. This is Sargent, number 6. Played every minute of every game this year for Detroit. Now cleared out by Bradford. Long ball, and he miskicks it, sliced it off. Out of bounds, give it to Fort Lauderdale. There's Ken Furphy, legs crossed in the middle. He was actually the coach of Fort Lauderdale for about 39 days. The first year the franchise was going to be in operation. In fact, I don't even know if he was there that long. But he retired.
They didn't play a game, though, in that
he resigned as coach before the season ever began. Long ball for Brazil, number 9. Cleared away by Ridley, number 5, to number 22, Colin Fowles. Fowles, 5'10", 24 years of age, already a veteran. Callaghan, number 3, Georgie Best. Best puts the ball behind Ronson, comes back to get it. There's Furphy right on him. Furphy 10 inches taller than Ronson. Furphy tackles it out of bounds, give it to Fort Lauderdale. Throw in for the Strikers. The Strikers pointing toward an All-Florida semifinal for the American Conference next week. Tampa currently involved with San Diego. A look out there. Leach almost gave it away to Hudson, but finally Hudson loses, and it will be a Detroit goal kick. Ray Hudson, veteran player, fine player.
Well, he got in there very quickly. Leach sort of delayed his kick. Leach is a very sort of calm, cool, methodical player, but I think that sort of stuff is fine in midfield. In the penalty area, you've got to be very, very skillful indeed to delay your moves like that, and he gave Hudson time to get in on him there, but no damage resulting.
Half volley here by the goalkeeper, Hardwick. Brazil goes up with the ball. Boy, he gets almost a headbutt there.
Screamed from behind there by Tony Whelan.
So it'll be a free kick. The foul is called on Whelan, just outside the 35-yard line. You get a look there at the scoreboard here with the unofficial time remaining. A little bit over 11 minutes left in the first half. At halftime, Kyle Rote will be with us with our Nutriment Mini Clinic of the week. Kyle will be chatting about the art of kicking in soccer. I assume he means kicking the ball. Colin Fowles comes out with it for the Strikers. Detroit has not really had a clear move in toward the goal now for quite some time.
No,
Fort Lauderdale has turned the tide.
They've been playing pretty defensively. Fort Lauderdale applying most of the pressure, but doing it maybe a little more nervously, a little more hysterically than they should do. A nice interception there.
Steve Sargent.
Interception by Sargent. And again, a foul for a tackle from behind there by Fowles on Brazil.
Trying to go through the man that time. Let's see if they're going to give him a throw-in or the foul. Looking at the referee right now.
Well, I heard a whistle. I can't believe that isn't a free kick.
And it is a free kick. Ian Davis, number 3, over the ball. 10 minutes and 15 seconds left in the first half. Detroit got an early goal and they lead here. You see Brazil now in the penalty area with Trevor Francis. They go for Brazil, far post. He can't get to it. He and Whelan fought each other, and they say that Brazil was up on Whelan's back, and a foul is called. Free kick, Fort Lauderdale. From Fort Lauderdale, this is NASL Championship Soccer. Beautiful day in Fort Lauderdale. Detroit has a corner kick as we return to action. Trevor Francis created it, and Keith Furphy will take the corner now in the right wing, although Furphy taking his time getting over there, and Francis, it started to run. You see Fowles hanging there with it. Now Furphy's ready to go. Furphy, 19 years of age, already established as one of the good scorers in this league. High cross, and the goalkeeper Turner with plenty of time to come out and grab it right out in front of the goal.
Grabbed it, but not too cleanly, John. I don't think he handled that at all well as he'd like to have done it. He knocked it down in front of him.
Trevor Francis was offside that time as the header went back in from Mick Leach.
I think that's a sign of the heat, too. You don't expect to see Trevor Francis sort of delaying his return there. I think he's already feeling the heat. Well, they all are feeling the heat. It really is most enervating out there.
As a look at the early stats here, Fort Lauderdale has a big advantage in corner kicks, though, which would support the fact that they have had the run and play here for the last 15 or 20 minutes. Here's Nanshoff now. Nanshoff in the right wing corner. Got Sargent on his back. Dumps it into Fowles, and Fowles is offside.
Same problem we had on the other side of the field earlier on. Fowles made a nice pass and then just stood there. You see Fowles on the left-view picture. He's already offside, and then the ball comes through him. He's just standing there way on his own. He should have run back.
Must be 2 players between Fowles and the goal line. 2 defensive players when that ball was played. And Fowles was in beyond everybody, save the goalkeeper. So he was offside. Hardwick boots it up the field. Over the head of Bradford, but it comes down to Leach. Off Callaghan. And Detroit has the ball. Game 2 of this series, Wednesday night at the Silverdome in Pontiac. And, of course, if Detroit wins here today on the road, they would have a great advantage going home. And then if the series is split, each team wins the ball game, they'll play a 30-minute sudden death overtime, which in essence would be the 3rd game, the rubber match of the series. Although just 1 game, or 1 goal in that 30-minute period, and it's all over. So you get a look there at Ian Turner. It's imperative for the Strikers today that they win while they're playing at home.
I think if the Strikers lose this game, it means, in effect, they've got to win 2 games in Detroit.
Hudson goes in the corner for Irving, but Irving was offside.
Much more questionable decision. The Fort Lauderdale fans making it known, making it very clear that they did not like that decision at all. And the linesman on the far side of the field.
But look at some of the crowd here today, dressed for the weather. Don't forget now, 1 week from today, August the 20th, a semifinal round game. And check your local listings for the time and station in your area. And 2 weeks from today, Soccer Bowl 78 from the Meadowlands in New Jersey. Will the Cosmos be able to become the first team in NASL history to repeat as champion? Cosmos, I think, have a tough road in the National Conference. Tough series coming up beginning tomorrow night against the Minnesota Kicks in Minnesota. They'll return with the 2nd game of that Minnesota series in New Jersey on Wednesday night. Ball taken there by number 5, Graham Oates. 5.5 minutes left in the first half. Detroit with the ball and with the lead, 1-0. Davis ahead for Francis. It's over his head, but Francis goes back to get it. And Tony Whelan clears it. But Davis has it again for Detroit. Long crossfield pass from Mick Leach, number 7. Leach swings around a man and then drops it back to Paul Hunter, number 2, the right fullback. 5 minutes coming up in the scoreboard clock. Hunter, first-round draft choice of the Cosmos last year. From the University of Connecticut, he has an elder brother, Tim Hunter, who plays for the New England Ball Club.
Being roundly booed at the moment because of he delayed that pass for ages and then finally put it back to the goalkeeper. In fact, I think we may even see the same thing coming up. Well, there we are. This is obviously a tactic which is going to go down very badly with the Fort Lauderdale crowd. They came here to see a game. They don't want to watch people passing the ball back to their goalkeeper.
Ken Furphy, the coach, is standing up on the sideline now with his hands on his hips across the way. I don't know if he liked the tactic either. Here's Brazil. He's got Francis to the right. He goes to Trevor. Looking for an opening now. Now Brazil is open. Winds and fires, and a foot save by the goalkeeper, Turner. Wow.
Brazil clutching his head in horror. He was sure he had a goal there. Lovely work by Francis, working the ball in the middle. Square across the line. Brazil all on his own. Takes it to his left. A shot. A left-footed save there by Turner.
Now, again, Detroit on the attack. Bradford into the area for Francis over his head. Back to the 35. Georgie Best tracks it down for the Strikers. They'd love to tie this score before the half. But here's an interception. Detroit comes right back again. Moffett for Francis, and an intentional handball by Ridley. Let's see, he should get a yellow card for that.
Well, he may do or he may not do it.
Well, if he hadn't done that...
I don't know what the referee is clapping his hands. What does that mean, Joe?
I don't think he's applauding the play.
I certainly hope not. He's not giving him a yellow card. There's some dispute over it. Some people think if you commit an automatic, it should be an automatic yellow card, intentional handball in a dangerous situation like that. But his hands go up because he knows perfectly well that behind him Francis is lurking, and he's not going to let that ball get through. But he hasn't got a yellow card. He's just got a verbal talking to from the referee.
Detroit has a free kick from 25. Francis scores!
What a shot.
Oh, what a shot from 25. He fired a rocket right under the bar, and it's 2-0 Detroit.
I don't think from the moment he hit that ball, there seemed to be no doubt at all in my mind that that shot was going in.
Here's another look at that one.
I pity the goalkeeper Turner on that. I don't think he had a chance on that. It was just hit with such power, such force. And I think it was just a straightforward shot. Just challenge the goalkeeper to do anything about it.
Trevor Francis with his second goal of the game and his third of the playoff.
Just under the bar. That's as pretty a goal from a free kick as you could ever hope to see. A beautiful shot by Francis.
Boy, looked like a Ron Guidry fastball there. What a shot. Now, Fort Lauderdale very badly needs a goal going into the locker room. They trail 2-0. Here's Ronson. Here's the cross. But again, nobody there.
There's going to be some quibbling amongst the Fort Lauderdale players here. They're going to start getting annoyed with themselves if that sort of thing happens very often. Because the openings are being created on the right here. The ball's going across, and there's nobody over there to take advantage of them.
Long pass, foot race for the ball, but Tony Whelan wins that one with Alan Brazil, and the goalkeeper, Turner, comes out to get it. So Fort Lauderdale trailing 2-0 in the wizardry of Trevor Francis again. What a season he's had for Detroit. This is his 21st game with them, and he has scored 25 goals for them. Now, here's the counter-attacking pass to Francis. 2-on-2. He tries to go around Ridley. He's around him. He squares it out in front for Brazil coming in the far post.
A lovely bit of play from Francis. He got around Ridley so easy, and then instead of shooting, as I think 90% of the players who've done that would have done, he unselfishly pushed the ball across the middle where Brazil was running in, but it was intercepted.
His coach may have wished he had shot. Now Nanshaw, but a sliding tackle takes it away. Nanshaw gets it back. Here's Georgie Best. Got two men there. Beats them with a cross, but it's cleared out by Graham Oates, number 5. Hudson goes after it, but it's cleared by Oates to midfield, and Francis goes up with a header. Tries to get a foul called there and fouls. The referee says no. Inside the final minute of the first half, Detroit leads it 2-0. Trevor Francis with 2 more goals. He scored every goal that Detroit has scored in the playoffs thus far.
I think you can say Fort Lauderdale are in considerable trouble now because they've absolutely got to score, which means they've got to throw everybody forward. They've got to work like mad, and in this heat, in the second half, this is going to really see exactly what they're made of, because Detroit now can afford to relax a little bit.
Hunter clears it out, and that may be all here in the first half. The scoreboard showing only 25 seconds. They may have time for one more thrust at the net, as the free kick created on that intentional handball by Ridley has given Detroit a 2-0 advantage. 10 seconds left. This is Steve Sargent, and he's all by himself. Time running out. You see it there. And they'll just be happy to stall it out until the referee's whistle, and there it is. That's the end of the first half with the score.
Make the ball easy for him to receive. The soccer-style kick is the one you hear referred to in American football. First, approach the ball with regular strides, not hurried steps, and swing your leg with a natural rhythm. Don't jab at the ball. For power, the foot should contact the ball on the flat part of the top of your foot, where the shoe is laced. If you're after a long, high, lofted kick, hit the ball just under the center. Point your toes down a little, and keep your head down and follow through for better aim and power. If you want a hard, low kick, called a low drive, to score a goal or hit a long pass, hit the ball right in its center with power and crispness. Be smooth and natural when kicking.
Now, each of the kicking techniques that we've discussed allows us to learn how to propel the ball forward or backward, or to curve it to the right with the outside of our foot, or to the left with the inside of our foot. But probably the most important factor in learning the proper kicking technique is what we do with our planted foot. How we stand next to the ball. If our foot is turned too much that way or too much to the outside, it won't give us the balance to kick the ball properly. So that's today's Nutriment Mini Clinic, and I want to thank each of you here and those of you at home for joining us this week. Today we talked about kicking techniques, and next week we'll talk about how we use those in kicking and passing. Each of these Nutriment Mini Clinics is brought to you by
Nutriment, the bodybuilding energy food. Footage for these tips are from the 13 Films, Soccer for Everyone instructional series. For further information,
came from countries where it's the major sport. I was just happy to get that far and then be able to do that good.
Well, you did a terrific job because you marched out there on your own. Everybody else had coaches and everybody. You were just on your own. Didn't you feel a little nervous then?
Well, yes, because, of course, the way you said I was by myself. I was kind of like the Lone Ranger, and everybody else had all these coaches around him and everything to comfort him, and I was just out there by myself.
The Lone Ranger. How did you start this? How long ago did you start juggling, sprinting, dribbling, and all that?
Well, I started playing at 7 years old, but I really didn't learn how to juggle until, about 11 years old.
And how old are you now?
14.
14 years old. Okay, now, after the competition there, you obviously play the game as well as all your juggling and dribbling. You're a member of a club team?
I am a member of the St. Francis de Sales Soccer Club, and I play on the forward line, any place.
This is, where is this club?
It's in Houston, Texas.
And you do traveling with this club?
Right, we'll be going to Monterrey, Mexico on Labor Day, so should be quite a thrill then, too.
So a result of all your soccer activities is simply that you're doing a lot of international traveling. You're seeing a lot of countries.
Right.
Okay, Joey.
Well, I'll be going to Monterrey, as I said.
They're sitting in the middle of the field, believe it or not.
Here come the strikers now. Fort Lauderdale in a ball game where they could perhaps come back, but also they're in danger now of losing a ball game maybe rather big for
They're in trouble at the moment. They need to get a goal very early in this half to put them back into it. If they do not get that early goal, they're going to have to work, and this heat is going to tell, and Detroit, of course, will not have to work so hard. And they have the players, especially Mr. Francis, who we've seen two marvelous examples of in the first half. They've got the players to score on breakaways.
Looks like Denny Vanager is going to start the second half for Fort Lauderdale. He's 6'2", 190, a reckless, fearless player who's had many an injury in his young career. Formerly played for the St. Louis Stars and graduated from St. Louis University, and he's very good in the air. We saw him in our earlier telecast this year when we saw the strikers in Washington back in April. So Vanager is starting the second half for Fort Lauderdale.
Was he a St. Louis University player, or was he SIU? I'll have to check my notes. I have a feeling he wasn't St. Louis University. He's from the St. Louis area. But I don't know whether this heralds good things for the second half. With Vanager in the middle, the ball will be in the air. It'll be played to him in the air a lot. I don't know whether that's going to provide me with the sort of soccer I want to see.
George Nanshoff is the man who's out of the ball game, and it looks like Detroit has the original 11 back for the second half. Detroit moving from left to right, and a foul has been called on Ian Callaghan and a free kick.
On Furphy, coming in from behind, pushing his legs right, well, a little push before he got in there, and then his legs go in, and he's clearly taking Furphy's legs out from behind him.
Now, here's Trevor Francis, but it's taken away by Ridley. Leach drops it back in, but again taken away by Fort Lauderdale. Whittle gets the ball to Tony Whelan. Crossfield pass to Ronson, number 7. 2-0 is the score, and the strikers with the ball. They need 2 goals to tie. Here's Georgie Best. Tries to knock it off from the left side for Whittle. A handball charged against Paul Hunter, and a free kick for Fort Lauderdale.
Paul Hunter played that very, very coolly. The ball obviously hit his hand. Ball dropped right at his feet. He tried to play it away as though nothing had happened.
Here's the cross by Hudson. Far post comes Vanager. Ooh, look out.
Well, there's an example of the way Vanager plays. You say fearless. I think your first choice of word, reckless, was a better... I'm mispronouncing the word. What is it, Vanager? Very well, Vanager, a reckless player, I think is better. That was a brutal sort of way of going in. 2 players with their eyes on the ball. Him coming in behind and creaming the Detroit defender.
Free kick after the foul called, and a free kick for Detroit. Vanager's had a couple of broken noses, and he's had a broken leg, among other injuries in his career. Another foul called there against Fort Lauderdale, and a free kick for Detroit. Here comes number 10, Bradford. Quick pass for Trevor Francis. He sends it off of the far post. Brazil can't get to it. And Francis seemed to have no opening that time.
There's a deflection on that. I think that's a referee waving for... Nope, he has given a goal kick.
From Fort Lauderdale, this is NASL Championship Soccer.
Arco American may save you...
comes Fort Lauderdale, trailing by 2 goals. A pass for Hudson, number 4. Leach back to pick him up. Hudson has an opening. Here's the cross. Well, he chips it right on toward the net, just over the bar.
Good try by Hudson there. Everybody waiting for the cross because he cooled the ball back. Ron Newman sort of feeling a little bit depressed about that, a promising move that broke down. But Hudson had a good idea. The goalkeeper was off his line. This goalkeeper does tend to play out a bit, and maybe you can get the ball over him.
Hardwick will set it up for the goal kick.
I think one thing we haven't mentioned up to now is the question of shirts. Fort Lauderdale a bit miffed before the game started. They wanted to play in white because of the heat. The league told them you can't play in white. You've got to play in what your regular home strip is, which is these, I don't know how you describe them, these colored hoops, I suppose. And of course, to add insult to injury, Detroit's regular kit is white.
Both ball clubs then wearing their regular home uniforms. Is there a foul?
No.
DiPolito says no. Play on. Danny Vanager running into Oates that time.
This was sort of 50% each way. No, I don't see a foul then.
Vanager might have just taken a fall.
I see Vanager running in front of the player, and I can't believe that anybody can knock Vanager down if he doesn't want to go down. So.
Furphy. Back to Francis, to Furphy. Furphy, the 6th leading scorer in the American Conference. This is an American Conference quarterfinal round game. Vanager tries to drop it back, but gives it right to Bradford. Detroit has it. Here's Brazil, number 9. Brazil moving ahead. He's around a man. And then Tony Whelan knocks it away from him. Taken up by Bradford. Now here's Trevor Francis.
We have actually got 6 on 5 here. This is
Francis into the box, and he can't get around. Very fine tackle by Morris Whittle.
Well, it shows the extent to which this heat is going to tell, because you can't see it all in your picture there. He kicks it away. Whittle kicks it away while he's on the ground. You can't see it all in your picture. We had 6 Detroit attackers on 5 Fort Lauderdale defenders there, because Fort Lauderdale are pushing up so much on the players because of the heat. They're just not getting back, and this could mean more goals for Detroit.
Ridley gets the ball ahead. Here's Irving. He's been shut off today. Here's a pass for Ronson. Or correct that, Hudson. He's got an opening. Still looking. Hardwick is all the way out of the net. 17 yards. Finally, Detroit takes it away, and Leach gets the ball out to Angus Moffett. Boy, Hudson that time appeared to have an opening, Paul. I thought maybe he hesitated there in taking his original shot, looking for perhaps a better still shot.
I don't think he had a clear shot. The Detroit defense closed him very quickly, and Hardwick, as I said, is very quick to come off his line, and in fact he followed that ball right the way out to the edge of the area. Instead of playing it with his hands, he tackled it away with his foot.
Here's Whelan now. He's got Irving in front with Denny Vanager, both tough in the air, and Whelan has the opening. Here's the cross right out in front of the net. Right on top of the goal it goes. He almost curved that one right in. Goal kick, Detroit from Fort Lauderdale. This is NASL Championship Soccer.
I love soccer, and I love tobacco, but I don't light up. I get my tobacco pleasure the smokeless way, and so can you. With mild, easy-to-use Happy Days. It's a smokeless tobacco with a great fresh mint flavor. Just a little pinch between your cheek and gum is all it takes. The best part of going smokeless? It's really relaxing. Try some.
Detroit with a goal kick as we return to play. Hardwick is teed it up, and he'll boot it up. On our telecast of Soccer Bowl 78, we will have the Coca-Cola Kick Me finalists in conjunction with Soccer Bowl 78. The finalists will be introduced at halftime of our telecast from the Meadowlands 2 weeks from today. Paul Hunter with a long boot for Francis. Look out, given away to Francis by Ridley. Here comes Trevor, looking for an opening now, trying to create one himself. It goes to Brazil, and he bombs it over the net. Goal kick for Fort Lauderdale. Now, that was all an accident, but the ball ended up with Brazil, and he had the shot. Detroit still with the advantage in the shot totals. Fort Lauderdale with the advantage in the corner kicks, but it all doesn't mean a whole lot right now. Detroit has a 2-0 advantage. Now Hudson goes after the ball, knocked away by Oates, deflected off Hudson into the goalkeeper, Hardwick. Hardwick has not allowed a goal in the playoffs as yet. He shut out Philadelphia last Tuesday night at the Silverdome as Trevor Francis scored the game's only goal. And Detroit won that game 1-0. Hard-fought game with a very much of a surprise ball club, the Philadelphia Fury. Alan Ball's ball club. Now here comes Keith Furphy. He's picked up by number 11, Ian Callaghan. Callaghan takes it away from him.
Another foul that's waved on by referee DiPolito. That looked like clear obstruction to me. Of course, didn't hear many boos from the crowd because it went against Detroit.
Bradford dumps it off in the corner. Here's Furphy again.
Well, that's the same thing again. Now, I can't believe he can let that one go.
Get a look at it here.
So the ball is pushed past Callahan. He's no real idea where that ball is. He just turns his back on Furphy, and of course Furphy just crashes into him and goes down and stays down. He's still down.
Well, we've got an injury in the field, a break in the action from Fort Lauderdale, NASL Championship Soccer. As we come back, Denny Vanager and Steve Sargent got their feet locked, and Steve Sargent came out the worst for that duel. And we have another man down. And incidentally, while we were away, Keith Furphy got up and appears to be okay. But now Sargent is down.
As soon as a player goes down, you get 4 or 5 players running over to their benches, and as I said, this sort of fountain of sponges and bottles with a liquid which I'm not allowed to name in it, which they drink, and all-round signs of heat, in fact.
We're in Fort Lauderdale today, a franchise that has grown very quickly, only its second year of operation, moved up the road from Miami. And last year, their attendance almost quadrupled over what they had done in Miami the year before. And it has gone up again this year. And these are very dedicated fans. And they make a whole day of fun of it here in Fort Lauderdale, as Paul mentioned earlier. Starting off with the tailgating out in the parking lots long before kickoff time. All right, Sargent is up. Hardwick boots it out. He sliced it off for Bradford. And a header by Whittle out of bounds and a Detroit throw-in. We could be anywhere next week. We could be in Vancouver, British Columbia. We could be in Minnesota. We could be back here in Fort Lauderdale, Tampa. And we won't really know until Thursday, maybe even Friday. But one way or the other, we'll be with you 1 week from today. Here comes Detroit. Francis, number 20. Whittle can't stop him. Francis has Brazil on the right, Furphy alone on the left. Francis goes to the right. Now he sees Furphy over there. He still holds the ball around Ridley. Into the box, the cross, and it's knocked over the line by Whittle. Corner kick for Detroit.
Beautiful skill there from Trevor Francis. I mean, he had 3 or 4 shots of beating Ridley, and finally you get the ball cleanly past him. And again, the Fort Lauderdale defense has to put that ball out for a corner kick.
Furphy slowly comes over. He's in no hurry. Gives his teammates a little chance to catch a breather before the corner kick. Francis, Brazil in the penalty area. Francis right on the goal line. Mick Leach comes down. Ball to the far post for Brazil. Heads it down and to the line. Saved in by the goalkeeper Turner of Fort Lauderdale. And the area clears out. He throws the ball out to Ronson, number 7. Ronson starts it up the field. Fort Lauderdale with 33 minutes to go, trailing by 2 goals. Got to get one here. Drops it back to the offside line. Number 11, Callaghan. Tony Whelan moving up. Morris Whittle moving up. He fires the ball into the penalty area. Comes to Ronson. He fires it back, and a harmless rolling shot on the net picked up by Hardwick. Fort Lauderdale kept only 2 defenders back that time, and I think even then they were back because Francis and Brazil were laying back in the Fort Lauderdale half of the field. Hardwick taking his time. 32.5 minutes left in the match. 2-0 is the score. Detroit in the white with the lead. Here's Furphy. Goes for Francis. Bread and butter for this ball club. Heads it down in front for Brazil. Brazil didn't anticipate. Whelan clears it out to Ronson. Ronson across midfield. Drops it off to Georgie Best. Best back to Ronson in the corner. Tries to beat Davis. Here's the cross, a high cross. It's going to go over the end line for a Detroit goal kick. The high looping lob that time, and nobody with a chance to get it. It went out of bounds.
I don't know whether you can, whether we're picking up some very loud shouting that's coming from the Fort Lauderdale bench. The coach, Ron Newman, down there is really screaming at some of the referees' decisions down there. Do you pick him up on your earphones, John?
I don't know if that's Newman or not, but I can see him down there. No doubt about that. Ron Newman, been a successful coach. He's the winningest coach. Currently coaching in the NASL. Get the word from the truck. The audio man says sometimes they can hear him, and sometimes they just have to shut it off.
Otherwise, they can't hear us.
This is a family program. All right, David Irving in the corner. He's got Vanager out front if he can get the ball to him. Has the opening. Here's the cross, and a goal! Wow, what a shot by Irving!
Well, Ron Newman, he won't be shouting now. He looks very happy with that one. Now, the question is, was this a cross or a shot? Because it comes over, it's traveling, it's dipping. Just under the bar, just over the goalkeeper. He runs in, pulls the ball back, left-footed. That ball's coming in. It's hit well, straight into the net. That, of course, that's the goal they need.
From Fort Lauderdale, it's 2-1, and this is NASL Championship Soccer. Scoring Fort Lauderdale's first goal, and a beauty it was, Paul.
Pulling the ball back, beating his defender on the outside, a left-footed cross that's curving in, and that ball's moving. It's not sort of floating in the air there. Hardwick well placed to do something about it, but it's just over him and curls in just under the bar. A lovely goal. We've seen two beautiful goals this afternoon.
Irving, number 10, scored 16 goals in the regular season and 2 more in the playoffs. And now Fort Lauderdale right back in the game. They go for Vanager, and Hardwick, does he save it in? He just does to save giving up a corner kick. So now the strikers, the shot in the arm, have the crowd up and shouting. And perhaps they can get some momentum here. They need one more to tie it and have plenty of time. Now, Paul, perhaps not going out and getting that third goal will cost Detroit here because they're playing away from home. They've got to be tired.
We discussed this earlier on, and it always is a problem taking a lead early in a game.
Here's the equalizer, though, Trevor Francis. He takes the shot. He hits the bar.
That's as good a shot as the one he scored from the free kick.
Well, what a shot. He was about 28 yards out.
You see, and this one taken on the right. Is the goalkeeper. He's moving it, traveling so quickly. You can see it bounds back. Oh, that must have bounced 15 yards into the air off the crossbar.
Ball belongs to Fort Lauderdale as Trevor Francis came within inches of a hat there.
And that's not going to make Ron Newman or Fort Lauderdale happy, because that tells them exactly what the danger is in pressing forward.
They've got to press forward, though. Need the equalizer. Callaghan into the box. Oh, a saving steal by number 8, Furphy, that time.
Furphy
and Ronson moving in behind him.
Furphy's supposed to be an attack back there helping the defense.
Whittle into the box. Here goes Vanager. Cleared away by number 5, Graham Oates. Fort Lauderdale thrusting forward with everything they've got. 27.5 minutes to go. Now Francis locks up there with John Ridley, number 5, and the ball belongs to Fort Lauderdale. Or correct that, to Detroit.
Well, I think it should be a Detroit free kick. That was a pretty clear foul.
Francis can't get to it, and Francis upset there with Bradford. Francis wasn't ready for it. Here comes Fort Lauderdale again. Here comes their counterattack. Detroit now with only a 1-goal lead. Their 2-goal lead at halftime looks so commanding. Here's Georgie Best. And he's sort of Fort Lauderdale's version of Francis. Now they go to Callaghan. Callaghan can't hold on to it, and he lost it over the end line. Goal kick for Detroit. You look there, number 5, Graham Oates.
Well,
28 years old.
He has Vanager next to him. One of the things that surprised me when Vanager came on the field was that rather than put Graham Oates on him, who's a very big man, they put Sargent on him, who I don't know how tall Sargent is, but he looks a midget when you put him alongside Vanager.
Here's the goal kick for Detroit.
I have to tell the viewers that John keeps telling me it's Vaninger and not Vanager.
Foul is called on number 9, Alan Brazil of Detroit. Don't forget now, 2 weeks from today, Soccer Bowl 78 here on TBS. Check the local listings for the station and time in your area. Here's Fort Lauderdale. Vanager drops it down in front, but it's taken away. Vanager almost annihilates a Fort Lauderdale player out front. I think Ian Davis, number 3, really got low-bridged. Now Angus Moffett dumps it ahead for Keith Furphy. And it's cleared away by number 7, Ronson. You see number 13, Gary Jones, 27-year-old forward, is getting up on the sideline for Fort Lauderdale, starting to loosen up, and he may be coming in here very shortly. Meanwhile, the referee has given a yellow card to Vanager, I think, for the play that happened a while ago.
That doesn't surprise me at all. We also have players wanting to come on the other side of the field for Detroit.
Looks like Brian Tinian, fine scoring winger is up over there.
Former Neil Cosmo.
And Tinian, he is going to be waved on here by the referee right now. Maybe for Furphy.
Well, there's a lot of pointing in all directions. It could be almost anybody who's coming off.
There's Tinian coming on. Played with the Cosmos in '76.
Has anybody gone off yet, John?
I haven't seen anybody go off yet. DiPolito now is blowing his whistle. Brazil is the man who has gone off. All right. Adam Brazil off. Got the assist in the first goal of the day. And now Brian Tinian. Tinian was playing with...
Here comes the second sub. Here comes the sub for
Gary Jones.
Lauderdale, Gary Jones.
And he goes in for Ronson.
It's interesting to see, though, that both these substitutions, both coaches still want to attack, particularly Detroit, to take off an attacking player and put another one on instead of a defensive player. That's an encouraging sign.
Ronson gets a standing ovation as he leaves here. Ronson, 5'4". He scored a goal in their victory over New England. He's only 21 years of age. So he goes off. Meanwhile, Detroit with the ball. Here's Tinian. Knocked away from him by Colin Fowles. Out of bounds it goes. Angus Moffett with a throw-in. Now Tinian taken away by Fowles. And Tinian takes it right back. The referee has called a foul on Tinian. Tinian played in Hawaii last year. This year, he was with Memphis, I guess, early in the season.
Are you looking at me when you asked that, aren't you? I'm not sure where he was. I lost track of him after he left for Neil Cosmos.
He was acquired by the Strikers late in the season, or by the Detroit Express late in the season. Here's Trevor Francis. 2-1 is the score, 25 minutes to go. Now Tinian moving ahead. Gives them an extra scoring threat up front. Who's also fresh.
Tinian is exactly. He's fresh, he's fast, and he is a scoring thing. He's a powerful shot.
George Best at midfield. Now the ball taken by Ian Callaghan, number 11. Ahead, here's Tony Whelan. Room to run in the middle. Dumps it in the middle. Look out, they had a man wide open.
Well,
they lose the ball.
The referee is going to give something there. I don't know what. Inside the penalty area, I think he's given an indirect free kick.
He has. Called a foul on Detroit. There will be a free kick in the penalty area.
Irving, who went solidly down there. Now, what that call can be, we'll take another look at that. As one player goes down, but that's not what this foul is all about. Now, you see Irving runs through there. And there he goes down. I don't know. As it's an indirect free kick inside the area, I would assume the call is obstruction, because if that were a tripping foul, then it would have to be a penalty kick, which is a 12-yard shot.
And the ball must touch another player before it can go in the net. It must touch two players before it can go in the net on an indirect free kick. The ball is set up. They'll set it up almost 18 yards from the goal line with an angle to the goalkeeper's left. You see the wall of players Detroit has set up, and DiPolito's making them move back 10 yards from the ball.
You just saw George Best do something rather clever, which I always wonder why more players don't do it. Instead of waiting for the wall to move back.
Here's a drive and a shot, a reef deflection, it's tied up!
And Morris Whittle on the shot, but I didn't see who got the deflection. There's Morris Whittle, my word, what a happy man. Ray Hudson lifting him up there. There's George Best, rolls the shot across. Morris Whittle, left-footed, hits, squirts out of the wall, and poor Steve Harbwick, the goalkeeper, has no chance at all. Moving one way and the ball goes the other.
They have tied it up with 23:50 to go from Fort Lauderdale. This is NASL Championship Soccer. And a shot and a score for Detroit. Brian Tinian has given Detroit the lead a little more than a minute after Fort Lauderdale had tied it up.
Well, I'm amazed that Ron Newman isn't off the bench on that. We're getting in a bit late on this replay. Tinian has already lobbed the ball. It goes over the goalkeeper's head. A mad foot race to get back to it. And I think, actually, in the end, it looked as though it might have been Whelan who put it in. You can't really tell who touched it. The goal will go to Tinian without a doubt. But I thought Tinian might have been offside when that ball came through to him originally. Really a very close thing. He was inside the 35-yard line.
3-2. Detroit has come right back to take the lead. So Brian Tinian, just inserted into the ball game, has given Detroit possession of the lead again. Boy, what a wild game this one is. 3-2 Detroit. 22 minutes left in the match. Looked like Fort Lauderdale was ready to come back and win this ball game with all the momentum going.
I think they still have the wind in their tails. That was a expression my grandmother used to use. They're still flying high, and I think they could still get this third goal here.
Irving for Vanager. It's off the back of his neck and taken by Detroit. Radford loops it into Hardwick. 21.5 minutes to go. 3-2 Detroit. Brian Tinian just inserted, and just after Fort Lauderdale tied it up, giving Detroit the lead again. That one has to be a shocker for the folks here in Fort Lauderdale. So the strikers, who had to fight to come from 2 goals down in the heat and humidity of Florida today, now have to come back again. Detroit with the ball. Here's Bradford, number 10. He scored 9 goals with 11 assists. But it's taken by Fort Lauderdale. Hudson with a left-footed pass to Vanager. Vanager not very good on the ground, but maintains control to Whelan. Ian Callaghan on the right wing. Here's the cross. Vanager far post, but he can't get near the ball, and Hardwick takes it out of the air. Brian Tinian, incidentally, scoring his first goal in a Detroit uniform this year, and he saves it for the playoffs. Trevor Francis gets the assist. The time 67-11. Here's Whittle into the box. Low cross taken by Irving. He's got the opening.
Oh, what a lovely goal. We really are getting some beautiful goals. And that all went back to an interception by Whittle. Intercepted a ball out on the left. Pushing it through there to Whittle. He just beats the tackle there, takes it right down to the byline, pulls it back. A lovely bit of work, pulling that ball back, hooking it round the defender, and a right-footed shot down past his right hand. That was a beautiful bit of work. You'll see it from behind as that ball comes across. Look at the way he pushes that past the defender there. A right-footed shot just inside the left-hand post. Another lovely goal.
Second goal for Irving is tied up again from Fort Lauderdale. This is NASL Championship Soccer. You see the score there. We've had 4 goals scored in about 10 minutes of time. There's Ron Newman. He's probably just as astonished as anybody else at the turn of events.
This is also a factor of all this heat, because players begin to make mistakes.
Here they come again. Irving right out in front of the net. Vanager just couldn't get there, and Graham Oates gives up the corner kick. Fort Lauderdale playing as if they had all just gone into the ball game, as fresh as the game just beginning. And they're putting on unbelievable pressure. Here's the header attempt, knocked down. Now Moffett trying to screen Colin Fowles, or Tony Whelan rather, away, and now a foul has been called on Whelan. Free kick for Detroit. 18:24 showing on the clock. Left in the match, but it's 3-3. It was 2-0 at halftime. Fort Lauderdale made it 2-1, and a goal by Irving about 14 minutes into the second half. Then Whittle from Best in a free kick tied it up 20 minutes into the second half. Then a minute later, Detroit came back to regain the lead on a goal by Tinian from Francis. And then about 2 minutes later, Irving tied it up again for Fort Lauderdale. Colin Fowles trying to take it away from Tinian, but Tinian has the ball. Tinian being clobbered by Fowles. Do we see a foul called? The referee
somehow think we're going to get something, but I don't know what.
Has given what?
We'll see. Fowles is down. He gets up. Tries to play the ball away. Tinian sort of bodies him off the ball. Fowles grabs him around the waist. Hits him from behind. Tinian
Well, they've given Detroit a corner kick.
Oh, I see.
Well, I guess they're not going to.
No, they haven't given. No, they've given a foul. This is this is a free kick right on the edge of the area, presumably for the first foul when Fowles grabbed Tinian around the waist.
This is Bradford. They jockey in the box. A chip. Nobody there. Vanager wildly heads it away. Comes to Oates. Oates tries to go around Ridley. Right out in front. Taken by the goalkeeper, Ian Turner. Almost no difference in the statistics either way. And that's the way the game itself is. 3-3 with 16:50 left in regulation. Ian Davis of Detroit heads it out of bounds. It belongs to Fort Lauderdale on the throw-in. Here's Ken Furphy.
He's still got his legs crossed. He still looks...
Here's a bit mussed right now.
Looks a bit bemused, actually, doesn't he?
Might be in a state of shock.
I think we all are. It's not after you see 6 goals in it. Yeah,
so we got a 3-3 tie. Another foul is called. This one on Keith Furphy. Free kick for Fort Lauderdale. John Ridley is up here. Into the box it goes. This is Gary Jones, number 13, trying to go around Davis. A handball by Davis.
Handball.
The referee says no handball and gives a corner kick.
They'll get the corner kick. That we should explain that a handball is only a handball if it's intentional. That clearly wasn't intentional. He had his hand down at his side and the ball hit it, bounced out for a corner.
George Best in the corner. Here it comes, far post. Here goes Vanager. Can't get to it. It goes out of bounds. So Georgie sliced that one off and virtually gave it away. Goal kick for Detroit. 15-40. Get a look there at Denny Vanager, number 9, 6'2", 190. And really, he has not scored in the ball game, but really they started making their comeback with Vanager in the ball game here in the second half.
That's true. They've done well since he came on, although I can't really see that he's been responsible for much of it. Irving seems to have been the key figure. But then again, you have to look and wonder whether, in fact, it isn't the presence of Vanager which is taking pressure off Irving, allowing him space to roam a bit. Who have we got here?
Danny Vaughn comes in, number 19, first-round draft choice of Detroit from the University of Washington. The Huskies, 21 years of age. He comes on, and I believe Angus Moffat has left.
Angus Moffat is probably the oldest member of the team. He must be feeling it a bit by now.
Here's Whittle.
It makes sense that he would be the one to be replaced.
Jones drops it back to George Best. 15-10 to go. Best trying to get that leading goal. Georgie moving in, juking down there, and Ian Davis knocks it loose. Good play by Davis. Here comes the counterattack for Detroit. David Bradford, number 10, goes to Trevor on the left side. He's got Vaughn out front, goes to Tinian. Tinian wide open on the right wing. Chest trap. He'll bring it in. Fowles picks him up. Tinian runs right over the ball, but leaves it for Leach. He'll bring it out. Chips ahead for Trevor Francis. In the penalty area, he's got the opening. He's being clobbered down there, nothing called. Ridley was all over him. And the referee said play on.
I think that was fair. I think, again, Francis being very cool, delaying his shot, seeing what the goalkeeper is going to do, but he left it a little too long, and Ridley got to the ball.
Now Gary Jones starts it back. We've got a 3-3 tie here. Detroit losing first a 2-0 lead, and then they lost a 3-2 lead. Trying to get the lead back now. Long ball. Here's Vaughn. He's onside. Well, the linesman said he was onside, and the referee overruled it. The linesman said Vaughn was onside, and Ron Newman is screaming at the linesman.
Well, I think that's probably, Ron Newman's making all sorts of signs reflecting on the linesman's eyesight. No question that's Ron Newman still feeling the third goal, which, as I said, looked very close to offside to me, which also wasn't called by the linesman, and of course wasn't called by the referee either.
Half volley, drop kick by Turner. Look at that, right up in the back is Steve Sargent of David Irving. Foul called on Sargent of Detroit. Free kick for Fort Lauderdale. The ball about 30 yards from the goal line. Angle to the right of the goalkeeper. Best over the ball for Fort Lauderdale. Boy, the fans had a steady rumbling through most of this second half. Whittle, far post. Here's Vanager. The header right on to the goalkeeper, Hardwick. Well, Ron Newman is living every moment of this ball game on the sidelines.
He's going to be the most exhausted one of the lot, I think. He's charging up and down that running track behind the bench there like a sprinter.
He's making every save. He's making every header, every pass vicariously from the sidelines.
Vicariously?
It's a word you taught me.
I don't even know what it means.
Here's Callaghan for Fort Lauderdale. 12:45 to go. We're getting down into that part of the game where a goal either way could decide it. Number 2, Hunter, heads it away and knocked away by Whittle. Give it to Detroit.
Got to certainly hand it to Fort Lauderdale for finding that those extra reserves of strength and energy in this, because they are being, at the moment, they're quicker on the ball than Detroit. This was not the case in the first half.
Well, you folks in Detroit, hope you'll make your plans to be at the Silverdome Wednesday for the deciding game of this series, perhaps the deciding games. Fouls with Tinian, and Fouls drops it to his goalkeeper, Turner, who comes out to get it. The pressure off. The strikers now will try to get the attack going from their end. Here's Hudson. Chip ahead for Irving. He's got it. Irving, cross-field pass on the open side. Gary Jones. Hudson. Leach comes back, but it comes loose to Jones. Jones came on in the second half for Fort Lauderdale. Now George Best. Best moving in now. Drops it for Irving. Back for Best, but Hunter was able to get between them and intercept the return. Taken away again from Bradford, this time by Hudson, number 4. And Hunter comes back and takes it. So Hunter and Hudson play catch. Quick pass for Francis at midfield, and there's Ridley. Ridley brings it in. He goes around Leach, but Leach with a comeback tackle. Jones chip into the box. Here goes Vanager, and he'll not be able to get to it. Goal kick for Detroit. From Fort Lauderdale, a tie score, and this is NASL Championship Soccer. Fort Lauderdale on the attack. 10 minutes left in the match. Gary Jones almost that time, but Davis knocked it away. Stats almost dead even. Fort Lauderdale with the advantage in the corner kicks. Trying to get the advantage in goals. Callaghan into the box for Vanager. Over his head. Vanager and Graham Oates tumble over one another. And the ball belongs to Detroit. 9:45 left in the match. Brian Tinian. Goal for Detroit. Ahead for Danny Vaughn. The thrill for him, first year. He's playing in a playoff game. He played 9 games in the regular season. Ball belongs to Fort Lauderdale. Vaughn scored 2 goals in the regular season in his rookie year from the University of Washington. Whittle. Long ball ahead. Over the head of Irving. Knocked down by Hudson and finally taken by Mick Lee. Wait a minute. Now you've got a man pounding on a man. Sargent is pounding on Irving. And let's see if he gets the red card here. Boy, Irving and Sargent, and it looked like Sargent was taking a couple of shots with the left fist. Well, we'll come back and take a look at what happened. This is NASL Championship Soccer.
Promotional consideration and a...
No cards were issued there before the commercial, and right now, Detroit has an important free kick coming up. Tinian in the corner will take the free kick. 3-3 tie. Inside, 8 minutes to go in the match. Tinian, number 11, over the ball. Whittle out there. Must be 10 yards away legally, unless the referee decides he can be closer. Here's the ball to the far post. That was cleared out by Vanager. And the ball belongs to Detroit on a throw-in. Graham Oates comes out to take the throw-in. I think either ball club would like to go to overtime here today. Both ball clubs have to be tired. Into the goalkeeper, Turner. 7.5 minutes to go in the match. Booted up the field by Turner. Here's David Irving. Irving has scored 2 goals in the second half. Leads it for Hudson, but Leach there to get in the way, and the ball goes down to number 3, Ian Davis. Now for Paul Hunter. 3-3 tie. 6 goals in the game, 4 of them in the second half within 10 minutes of each other. Here's Irving. Fort Lauderdale moving again. Now Tinian comes back to blindside Irving, and it goes to Graham Oates, number 5, the captain of this ball club. You know, Detroit caught up in the tense action here of playoff soccer. Remember now, game 2, Wednesday night at the Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan. 7:30 kickoff between these 2 ball clubs. The series ends up 1 game apiece. They'll play a 30-minute sudden death overtime. In essence, a 3rd game, but 1 goal in that 3rd game either way, and it's all over. Quick ball ahead, over the head of Furphy, and dropped into the goalkeeper by Ridley. And Turner will take it out. Of course, if this ball game remains tied, we'll go overtime here. Also sudden death. 2 7.5-minute periods. If no goals are scored, we'll go to the NASL shootout, which we almost saw in a telecast earlier this year from Oakland. Now Hunter. So Detroit trying to get the offense together. And Hunter just gives that one away. Poorly played into the penalty area. Had Danny Vaughn near the goal mouth, but nowhere near Vaughn.
Screwed off the outside of Hunter's foot. But Hunter has had a very good game. He really hasn't done much wrong.
Here comes Irving. Sargent back to pick him up. Vanager out front of the goal. Sargent with a nice tackle there. Take the pressure off for a moment. Whelan throws the ball into Georgie Best. Best knocks it off Davis. Knocks it off Davis again to Whelan. Hudson. Nick Leach bumps into him. And they're going to give a corner kick to Fort Lauderdale. There's Nick Leach. He played a rough game today. So a big corner kick for the Strikers. Down in the corner. Nobody there. Oh, look out! Here's a shot, and it's over the bar. Callaghan picked up the loose ball as the Detroit players all let it go.
I think, again, this is heat. Two Detroit players going for the ball. It was a terrible corner kick in the first place, a terrible mistake, and then not quite a terrible shot, but certainly not a very good one. So you got three rather bad errors there, one after the other, all due, I'm sure, to tiredness, fatigue, and heat.
So Detroit almost gives away a goal. Now Furphy comes down. He's got Tinian on the right side, Vaughn on the left side. Goes to Vaughn, into the box for Tinian. Look out! Hudson drops it to Turner, and Tinian lurking right behind.
That's one of the bad signs there, is you had Tinian, Vaughn, Furphy up there, but where was Francis? He was hanging back. He was a good 10 yards behind him. Whoops, just as I say that, here he comes.
Now Bradford looking for Francis up front. Goes instead for Vaughn, but he's offside. Nice effort at a header there by Vaughn, but it wouldn't have counted anyway. He was offside.
Tremendous round of ironic applause from the Fort Lauderdale fans here as the linesman finally calls an offside.
Ian Turner, a 1.72 goals against average in his 12 games. But Fort Lauderdale won most of those games. Here's Irving, the big scorer of this ball club, looking for the shot. Drive, and a great save by Hardwick. Did he save it inbounds? He did not.
No, he did not. It's a corner kick. But give credit to Vanager on that. He got up to the ball. Well, this is after it. He headed it down. Irving turned beautifully here. Hit this shot. It's right on target. Hardwick, well, I think we've overshot a little there. Hardwick really had to stretch to reach that one. Nearly number 4 for Fort Lauderdale.
Another Fort Lauderdale corner kick. 3 minutes and 15 seconds left in the match. Best and Hudson in the corner. Here's Best, lofts it to the far post, and Hardwick comes up to take it away, and he collides in there with Irving. Foul called on Irving. Free kick for Detroit. 3 minutes left in the regulation period of the match.
Hardwick grabs the ball, falls down, and there's a whole heap of players there with him, and it's Irving. There's a little contact after the ball had been grabbed there, so.
Here comes Detroit's counterattack. Now, they've got a 4-on-4 right now. Leach to Tinian. He's got Vaughn and Francis in the middle. Tinian looking for the opening here, and it's knocked away by Morris Whittle. Taken by Whelan. Whelan is all over this field today, one side to the other.
He looks so powerful, too, even at this stage of the game.
Ahead for Hudson, knocked down by Mick Leach. Detroit, a little mix-up there, and who was going to take it? Finally, Hunter drops it in the middle to Ian Davis. 2:20 left before we go to overtime. But here comes Francis. Francis is around a man. He's around another man. Still has it 25 yards out. He's looking for the shot now. And it's finally knocked loose by Morris Whittle. Francis took on 3 men, but couldn't beat a 4.
Yeah, I think you have to fault Francis there. He should have given that ball away earlier. He beat 3 men beautifully, and he had Tinian waiting for a pass on the right, but he chose to try and dribble it past Whittle. He didn't make it.
Foul is called on Paul Hunter, number 2 of Detroit. Free kick for Fort Lauderdale. I don't think either ball club wants to go overtime, especially the sudden death overtime. A mistake, a fluke, and it's all over. Anybody could win that. Here's Irving in the penalty area. Around Sargent, the cross for Vanager, the header just over the bar. Goal kick Detroit. Nice effort that time by Irving.
Beautiful work by Irving. He's having a splendid game, Irving. The header from Vanager certainly wasn't very good, though. Well, he's already beaten his man there. Across comes the ball. Now, Vanager is open here, but I don't know quite what he did with that. He sort of got under the ball and headed it up. Should have been on top of it and headed it down. Easy to say from here, John. God knows what the temperature is down there, though.
1 minute and 5 left in regulation time. Fort Lauderdale with the ball, 3 goals. Detroit with 3 goals. The crowd urging the strikers on, but there, the strikers give the ball away. Fouls with a bad pass. Francis, dishes off nicely to Tinian. He's got room to run. Francis streaking down the middle. Here's Tinian. Drives in with a shot, a save, the rebound, cleared out by Whittle. Whittle heads up there to cover up the rebound.
Good example of Tinian's shooting power there. Solid left foot drive, which Turner really had to make a good save on that one.
30 seconds left in regulation unofficially. Here comes Gary Jones. He's got Irving and Vanager in front. He drives in, takes the shot, and it's wide right of the net. Goal kick Detroit. Gary Jones trying to do it himself that time, but missed the net.
Not the right time to take a shot, was it, John? He did have players open inside him, but I think that often happens late in the game. the exhilaration of running forward with that ball and seeing the goal, and the player just, he goes to his head and he whacks it, and the shot was, I don't know, it's good 10 yards wide.
Well, it looks like we're going to sudden death overtime. The referee keeps the official time on the field, and he blows the whistle, and we're going to overtime from Fort Lauderdale. The end of regulation, and the step
work when they're running to his right and hitting the ball to his left. Goalkeeper Hardwick left flat on his back, staring up at the sky, wondering just what's going on here.
At the end of regulation, Fort Lauderdale with the advantage in shots and the large advantage in corner kicks. And Detroit goalkeeper Hardwick with 6 saves. Now, as we start the overtime, the team's coming back in the field. Detroit will have the ball on the kickoff, and Fort Lauderdale will be defending the goal to the left of your screen. And Hardwick of Detroit will be defending the ball to the right, or the goal of the left or the right of your screen.
Now, what was that again,
Let
John?
me try that again. I say, these overtime games get to me. Now, it looks like Hardwick, Turner had gone to the goal on the left, but now Hardwick is going to defend the goal on the left, and Turner of Fort Lauderdale, the goal on the right.
I can't imagine what Turner was doing down there when all his own players are on this side, on the right-hand side of the field. I just got a little confused there, I think.
I didn't get confused.
Oh, no, you were as straightforward as you can possibly be there.
Trevor Francis dumps it in for Keith Furphy. 1 goal, and it's over. This is the first 7.5-minute overtime. If there are no goals scored, we'll do it again. Furphy's loose in the box. Takes a shot, hits the bar. Oh, my goodness.
Well, he's going to get a corner kick out of that. Well, there's, again, an example of how explosive and how dangerous these Detroit forwards are. Furphy got round fouls and smashed a shot which hit the outside of the bar. Referee's given the corner kick, deflected off a defender, presumably the goalkeeper.
Now Bradford to take the corner kick in the corner. Tinian sitting in the far post to the right. Francis right in the goal line.
The big man is coming up for this one, too, number 5, Ridley.
Graham Oates. Here goes Danny Vaughn, spiked out by Turner, and a foul is called on Vaughn. You hear the referee's whistle plainly there. So a foul on Vaughn, free kick, Fort Lauderdale.
Cross coming out, high corner, as you can see there. A whole bunch of players going up. And the goalkeeper, well, he certainly was creamed while he was in midair there. And that's not allowed.
Fort Lauderdale now with the ball, really, for the first time in this first overtime. 2 7.5-minute overtimes if needed here. Now Trevor Francis has it again for the Detroit Express.
Trevor Francis awfully deep on his own 35-yard line. He does not like to come that deep. He feels his own attacking qualities, which are his strengths, are being lost when he has to play that deep.
Hunter lobs it over the head of Vaughn, and Fort Lauderdale has it. Whelan to Whittle. Morris Whittle. Powerful left-footed shot. Looking for Irving now. Sargent is knocked down by Irving. The referee has called the foul on Irving. Free kick for Detroit. We've played a minute 40 of the overtime.
As clear a case of pushing from behind as you could want to see here. Not quite as clear as I'd like it to be, but there goes Sargent crashing onto the ground. And here we are looking at the front view again.
All right, Detroit with the ball. 5.5 minutes left in the first of what could be 2 overtimes. But remember, sudden death, at the risk of being redundant, will remind you 1 goal, it's over. Long ball for Vaughn, but coming 14 yards out of the goal mouth is Turner to take it away. Using Vaughn as sort of a point man up front there. Looking for Vaughn with quite a few high ball passes.
Yeah, I don't really feel that's the way that Detroit ought to be playing this game. It means that I say Francis is playing deeper than he was, and that explosive shooting power and speed of his is being lost.
Whelan for Irving in the box now. Sargent gets in front of him. The 2 of them fall over the goal line, and a foul has been called on Irving again. It'll be a free kick for Detroit.
Not sure what that foul was for. It looked to me like there was a handball before he even got to, before Sargent even got to him.
A handball by Irving?
By Irving, yeah. That's how he controlled it. But where he's placing the ball, that looks like a goal kick.
There's Irving. He scored 2 goals in this game. 3 goals in the playoffs thus far in 2 games. 3-3 tie. First overtime. Headed by Ridley, number 5. Taken by Callaghan. Callaghan is 36 years old, and here he is in overtime on this hot, humid day in Florida. Tinian after the ball for the Detroit Express. Takes it away and then was tripped by George Best. And a foul called on Best. Free kick for Detroit. George Best, he assisted on the 2nd goal for Fort Lauderdale. Otherwise been rather quiet. Results offensively.
Plays. He's withdrawn more than he used to be.
Vaughn with a header, but it goes right to Turner.
We spoke with George this morning, John. What did he say about playing in midfield?
Now we've got a foul called, and they've called offside
I think
on Vanager, or maybe it was Irving.
Once again, Vanager making his presence felt. Solid in Sargent's face.
George Best said around the pool at the hotel today he's been playing back more and playing more defensively than in the
He's
past.
playing back more because it's easier.
Oh, here's Furphy into the box, and a nice tackle that time.
Murphy trying for a penalty, but he won't get that one. I think very clearly the ball was taken first by Fowles that time.
Beautifully done by
Fowles.
Fowles.
Fowles. Murphy's still down in the area, 50 yards behind the play, struggling to his feet now.
Best drops it in the middle for Callaghan, number 11. 2:55 left in this overtime. Here's Whelan around Tinian. Around Vaughn with a pass to Callaghan. Winds, fires just over the top of the bar. 29 yards straight onto the net. Just high. Goal kick Detroit.
See that was a good shot by him. He had plenty of time to line this up, and he hit it well. But you compare the speed of that shot with the speed of Francis's shot on which he scored earlier in the game. I think Francis's shot was probably 33 1/3% harder and faster than that one. We got a stoppage in the play. Immediately players start to sit down in the field here.
Furphy sitting down at midfield. Detroit trainer out. Have a look.
Well, this is the result of that tackle by Fowles down the area.
There's the look first. It'll be a goal kick for Detroit when we resume. The clock is stopped at 2:39 left.
See the referee,
first overtime.
Gino DiPolito smiling there. I guess we should tip our hats in his direction. He's out there too. He's got to be pretty fit.
Gino has kept things under control. He had signs being very rough.
Yeah, it looked as though it might be difficult at some point, but
Mick Leach rolls it off to Brian Tinian. Here we go. Detroit on the attack, into the attacking zone. Here's Leach in the right wing. He's got Francis out front with Ridley on his back. Far post. Here's Furphy going up for the header. Can't get to it. Now chased down by Gary Jones, and he did not save it in. Throw in for Detroit. Take it back to that attacking area. 1:50 coming up aboard Card Stadium in Fort Lauderdale. Get the ball games tomorrow night now in Minnesota. The Cosmos and the Minnesota Kicks in Bloomington. And Tampa. Francis. Look out. He drives a shot. And a rebound is saved and knocked out of bounds. Corner kick for Detroit. Wow, close call.
Some mistakes there. There's a miss kick by a defender there. It looked like a handball, but it hits Francis's shoulder. He hits it. It comes off the goalkeeper. And then it's played away for a corner kick there by, I think, Ray Hudson.
Here's Furphy in the right wing corner. Francis laying right on the goal line. Got Vaughn coming in from the far post. They go for Vaughn, number 19. Tries to head it down in front, but Whelan gets in the way. And cleared by Callaghan. They look for the counterattack to their bread and butter man, David Irving. Irving, cross-field pass, right wing, and there's Whelan again. Here they come. Jones looking for Whelan. Leach intercepts. Number 7 for Detroit. Out of bounds. Throw in for Fort Lauderdale. In those games tomorrow night, Cosmos at Minnesota and Tampa at San Diego. Other quarterfinal round games. And it goes to Hudson now. Fort Lauderdale pushing up. Only 30 seconds left in the first overtime. He would change sides and then play another 7.5-minute overtime if there are no goals scored here. Irving drops it back, but Furphy is there to clear it away from George Best. Vaughn goes after it to Bradford. Oh, look out. Handball called on Callaghan. 10 seconds left. Tinian, maybe a time for a rush. See the time left. Here comes Tinian. He goes around Whittle. Time about to run out. Tinian's cross. Here goes Vaughn over his head. Leach back in front. And Turner spikes it down, and the referee has blown the whistle. And that's the end of the first overtime. The score is still 7.5-minute overtime, moving from left to right.
Well, I said, John, I didn't think we'd go too far without seeing a goal. We've seen plenty of chances, but the ball's just not going in. Both teams had good chances in that first overtime period. There's a foul.
Mick Leach called for the foul and a free kick for Fort Lauderdale. Hudson was the man who got tripped. Now, if there are no goals scored in this overtime, we'll go to the NASL shootout. Talk more about that when we get to it. Quite an exciting, although controversial way of deciding a ball game. Fouls, chips into the box, nobody there except Detroit ball players. Now the goalkeeper, Hardwick, wearing a hat here. Apparently he's looking into the sun.
He's looking right into the sun there, yeah.
Hardwick brings it back into the penalty area where he can handle it. And he'll punt it up the field. The midfield over the head of Bradford. But Mick Leach is able to take it. Number 7, 31 years of age, playing professionally for 15 years. Now Ian Davis drives in, he takes a shot. Misses wide of the mark.
More signs of tiredness there. Ian Davis allowed to run through. Nobody went for him. He had the chance for the shot and he lined it up, but again, you have the feeling his legs were running out on him the further he went. And the shot was high and wide and not too good.
Now Ian Turner to boot it up the field. High, long kick. These players looking up into the sun. Irving has it. Now Hudson takes it in the corner. What a pass from Irving. Hudson trying to go around Leach. And Leach with a comeback tackle, but he gives up a corner kick.
Again,
he got beaten.
He just recovered, but he's done something down there. I don't know what he's done. He's pulled a muscle, sprained his leg.
The attendance today in Fort Lauderdale, an all-time record for this stadium, 17,517. Largest crowd in Strikers history.
You know, watch Ray Hudson cutting in here, runs the ball straight at Leach there. Leach just gets a bit of it, has to stretch like mad, and then he seems to stub his toe in the ground.
Well, Leach is up.
Leach is
I
up.
think that's Roy Sinclair coming over, but Sinclair is going to be waved off the field. Leach will continue. Corner kick for Fort Lauderdale. Hudson over the ball. Here it comes. Cleared away by Keith Furphy from Banneker. Now Detroit looks for the counterattack. Got Francis up beyond midfield. Leave it for Tinian. So quickly Fort Lauderdale drops back on defense. Crossfield, long for number 20, Trevor Francis, but too long, and Ridley saw it coming.
Well, that's the problem with those long crossfield passes. They're in the air so long. That was a bad foul there by Davis.
Ian Davis.
Hudson. Those long crossfield passes, they're in the air so long that the defenders really have time to pick them off. They can run forward and cut them out before they get to the intended receiver.
Looks like Ridley now is shadowing Trevor Francis. Wherever Trevor goes, Ridley's right with him. 5 minutes left in the match in sudden death. The second sudden death overtime. Into the box by Whittle. Here's Vanager. Out in front, a header just wide of the net by Gary Jones. Oh, the game is over there, but he missed it by a couple of feet.
You have an example of how useful Vanager's strength is. The ball comes over. Now, Vanager's leaning on that man, Ridley. Or Oates, number 5. I keep calling him Ridley. I'm getting the wrong team. He heads across the middle. And the final header, which really should have been put away by Gary Jones there, was put wide. That was a golden opportunity to finish this game.
Gary Jones, 27 years of age from England. Couldn't quite end it right there. We've got 4:20 left in this overtime. Nobody wants to go to shootout. A lot of players dislike that way of deciding a game. Colin fouls with the ball to Tony Whelan in the middle. Don't forget, right at the end of the ball game, we'll have our Skoll Happy Days Player of the Game awards, offensive and defensive. Now here's Hudson in the right wing corner. 2 men around him trying to go through them. Here it comes to Whelan. Goes out to get it. Far post, Vanager not there, over his head. And Graham Oates comes out to get it. And then Tinian goes all the way back to Hardwick. 3:40 left. Fort Lauderdale, in shootouts this year, was unbeaten, and so was Detroit. 5 players chosen from each team. And they'll go one-on-one with a goalkeeper. Whoever scores the most wins it. That's if we go to the shootout.
Player down,
far post. Here's Trevor Francis. Can't save it inbounds. Goal kick, Fort Lauderdale.
Another injury here. That's Fowles down on the field there. He went up for a header with Vaughan. Came down rather heavily. I don't know. You see what he's holding his left leg there. Minnesota? I don't know. Anything can happen in Minnesota.
Great fans there in Bloomington at Metropolitan Stadium. They'll open up that series tomorrow in the Twin Cities. Also Wednesday night, Portland at Vancouver with the second game of their playoff series. Portland with a 1-game advantage already. Here's a ball long for Fort Lauderdale. Ray Hudson after it, but he was offside. Foul called on the offside. Free kick for Detroit. 2:45 left in this overtime. Here come the Detroit Express. Brian Tinian down the right wing. Looks for Francis now. Ridley. Oh, look out. Francis moving in. Loose ball. Who knocked it over the line?
Yes, that's a corner kick, but my word, a beautiful bit of intelligent play by Francis there. He knew he wasn't going to get to that ball, and he just waited for the defender to play it back. Now, Francis comes in between these two because he knows that ball's going back there.
Now Tinian
just gets to it, and Francis...
Tinian on the corner kick to Vaughn. Tries to knock it down in front. Loose ball. Look out in the penalty box. Scramble for it. Vaughn goes in, and there's Vanager flying through the air. Sent back in by Hunter, and the goalkeeper comes out wide of the net to take it. The pressure's off. Inside, 2 minutes left in the match. Ball there on the corner kick again. They went to the far post to the rookie, Danny Vaughn.
I was looking at the corner kick. Actually, on the replay, it didn't look as though it was a corner kick at all. It looked as though Francis had played the ball over the line.
You mean, in other words, it should have been given to Fort Lauderdale on the goal kick.
Yeah.
Here's Callaghan, a minute and a half to go. One goal, and it's over. Callaghan, long one for Vanager. He'll have to chase it. Graham Oates is behind him. Vanager drops it out to Morris Whittle. Top of the penalty area. Irving back to Whittle. Cross field for Callaghan. Callaghan looking for the cross. Here it comes. Hudson there. Hudson with a bicycling effort. And right into the goalkeeper.
Nice, jolly little bit of soccer there, but not really very effective. I don't think you're going to score with a bicycle kick from 25 yards out.
Uh-oh, here comes Bradford. Inside a minute to go. Tinian. He'll beat Whittle to the ball. Francis out front, along with Bradford. Tinian's around a man. Still got it. Drives in a shot and a save. And a goal. Corner kick coming up for Detroit.
Beautiful bit of soccer by Tinian, dribbling into the area. And a lovely save with his feet again. Well, he's already passed two men here. Here's the right-footed shot, hard. Saved there with his feet by Turner, over for a corner kick.
We're back to action, but time is taken now as the corner kick was taken by Detroit, and Fort Lauderdale player Colin Fowles is down.
He's down again. Now, this is the second time he's been down.
Much needed help in this telecast today, and much appreciated. All right, we're back to action. Here's Tinian. 30 seconds to go. Inside, loose ball, and cleared out by number 6, Tony Whelan. Detroit tries to keep it in. Hunter with a high chip, and Detroit has 2 or 3 players offside. Free kick. Turner will take it. Knocks it out of the box to Ridley and back to Turner. Well, it looks like we're going to go to a shootout here. Maybe. Ray Hudson. Oh, you see the time left. Into the box. Here's Irving, but Hunter takes it away. Time is out. The referee blows the whistle. Now he's got 5 seconds once he starts to get the shot off. Fans here urging on their goalkeeper, Ian Turner. Neither ball club has lost in a shootout this year. Detroit won its only shootout, and Fort Lauderdale won 2 shootouts. Now Francis again will start 35 yards from the goal. You see Turner, he must set on the goal line. And once they started, both of them can move wherever they want, just as long as Francis gets the shot away in 5 seconds. He cannot attempt a rebound shot. Here we go. Francis in. Turner after him. A shot. He missed it. So now Fort Lauderdale with a chance to take the lead. As you see, Trevor Francis tried to chip it over the top. Now Hardwick will set up in goal, and Tony Whelan will take the shot for Fort Lauderdale. Now Whelan can put Fort Lauderdale ahead here. 1-0. Here he goes against Hardwick. Straight ahead. Score! straight on from the back of the man shooting. And now Keith Murphy must score to tie it up. Second round. Moves in on Turner. Goes around Turner. Turner grabs it away. Now Colin Fowles will come out and try to give Fort Lauderdale a commanding 2-0 lead in the shootout. Hardwick comes out, and it is oh, yeah, that's good. A goal. It went through a hole in the goal and on through. It is 2-0 Fort Lauderdale in the shootout. Again from the back of Fowles. We'll take a look at it here. All right, on through a hole in the net. And now here comes Bradford trying to score for Detroit. And he scores. It's 2-1. Now Ray Hudson will come out for Fort Lauderdale to shoot against Hardwick. Hardwick really has to make a save here. Here comes Hudson. Shot. Missed it. Hit the post. Now it's 2-1. Get a look at that one. Brian Tinian will come up with a chance to tie it up. Aim for the wide side and hit the goal post. Brian Tinian, who gave Detroit the lead on a goal in the second half. And he's going to go in from an angle instead of straight on. As you get a look at that last miss. Here comes Tinian trying to tie it. Fake, shoots, a save! Now, here comes David Irving, and if he scores it, Fort Lauderdale will win the match. Here's a look at that last save by Turner again. Here comes Irving looking for the win. The shot missed the net wide left. But they'll get another chance to win it. Ian Davis comes out, number 3 for Detroit. And if he misses, then it's all over anyway. If he scores it, then Fort Lauderdale will still have to score one more time. As David Irving, who scored 2 goals in the second half, with a chance to ice it in the shootout, can't do it. And now Ian Davis, 21-year-old English player, has to score or it's all over. Here he goes. Turner out. He's around him. Does he have time? He scores it. Did he do it in time? Ron Newman come running out on the field. The referee kept the watch. And DiPolito is ruling that he did it in 5 seconds, and it's tied up. Here's a look at it. Went around him. Now Ron Newman is on the field, and he is furious with the referee. Pressure on Fort Lauderdale. Morris Whittle has to score to continue into a 6th round. Whittle scored a goal in regulation. Here it comes. The game is on the line. He comes in, he shoots. It's all over. Strikers win it. And the Fort Lauderdale Strikers have won it in a shootout 4-3 after they trailed at halftime 2-0. They fell behind again in the second half 3-2. They come back to tie, and they win on a shootout. And they'll go to Pontiac, Michigan, to the Silverdome, needing only 1 victory there to move into the semifinal round of the playoffs. The Strikers, who weren't even supposed to be here, upsetting New England in the first round, and 17,000 plus fans here at Lockhart Stadium on their feet, going crazy. We just received word from the members of the broadcast media and the Professional Soccer Reporters Association covering this game that they have selected Trevor Francis of the Detroit Express as the offensive player of the game and Tony Whelan of the Fort Lauderdale Strikers as the defensive player of the game. Players will receive a $1,000 School Happy Days award, which they will share with their teammates. Whenever both awards are presented to players from the same team, such as is not the case today, there will be an additional $500 to the kitty. So the Strikers have game 1 under their belts, and it's on to Pontiac, Michigan for game 2. We'll see you 1 week from today with a semifinal round game. And again, we ask you to consult your local listings for the time and station in your area. 1 week from today, a semifinal round game. The final score today from Fort Lauderdale 4 and Detroit 3. John Miller with Paul Gardner saying, so long from Florida.